Okay, this is part two. This is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring on YouTube, and it is November, wait, 20, I have to look down. November 24th, 2021, part two of my psychological analysis of my defense mechanisms and my insecurities. I don't want to beat myself up and be hard on myself, and people say don't apologize, but I've had people online tell me don't apologize, but it's like, wait a minute, like I screw up a lot. And honestly, I admire people who like it would be good if I could learn to not screw up, then I wouldn't have to apologize. But when I lose my temper and I throw a tantrum and I act like a child or, immature, like I have valid points of view. This is what I was going to say. This is what's really troubling about me psychologically, because I like to think I'm a smart person. I'm 53 years old, so I've been on this planet a while and I have a certain amount of wisdom, I think, a certain amount of self-awareness, which is good. And yet I lose my cool pretty easily. And when I feel a little bit dominated or bullied by somebody else, I play the part of a victim, which is bad. Like, I don't want to do that. I think some people who really don't like me, they think that I'm intentionally being a victim or a martyr. I don't think so. Like, if I am, it's not conscious, because I feel like I get into some pattern with certain people. Let's just say I'm around a person that I don't really like very much. And yet I feel like I'm supposed to like everybody. Part of me thinks I'm supposed to like everybody and be nice to them. I mean, I do believe in being polite and cooperative and easy to work with. When I'm with somebody in a working situation, or I'm volunteering, or I'm doing anything, just a social event, whatever, any kind of opportunity to be around with other people, I like the idea of being cooperative. But I'm noticing some things about myself that are very dark. And I'm seeing what a jerk I am. Like, in some ways, I'm a total jerk. Like, I see it. Like I'm sensitive and kind, and I love plants and animals. I have empathy and compassion for people. And yet at the same time, I'm really angry and really scared. And I have defense mechanisms and I get triggered really easily. So somebody said something to me that upset me, and they were just trying to be honest with me and make sure I understood what was happening. And I kind of freaked out and lost my temper and got really defensive and angry, and wanting kind of on a soapbox and wanting to tell them certain things that I disagreed with them on. And they didn't need to know all that. And it's embarrassing that I did that, but I did. And what can I do? I'm a Scorpio, so maybe I'm a truth teller a little bit, but who's to say what's true and what's false, especially these days? People argue about what's true and what's false all the time. And honestly, certain truths or certain philosophies are not even allowed anymore. So I won't say what that is, but certain people are not even allowed to speak their minds in certain ways, even if they mean well. So, which I find very troubling. I will just say I'm grateful that I'm alive and life is a gift, and I'm a spiritual person and I love nature, and I lost my cool with somebody and I found it very traumatic. And I think it's mostly my own dark side that I'm seeing here, because this person said a few things to me, but then I responded worse, in a more freak out kind of way. And then they reacted to me freaking out by, I don't even want to talk about the details, but let's just say it was very disturbing and uncomfortable. And it was a few days ago, and I feel traumatized by the whole thing. But I take responsibility for my part in it. So I am responsible for that. They are responsible for whatever their role was. I'm not here to talk about them. I'm here to just focus on me. I guess being this self-conscious is kind of not a good thing. Like, maybe it would be better if I wasn't self-aware. I don't know. So I also had some good interactions with people recently in a new situation that I'm going to work on a project with somebody in a totally new and different way. And I met them today for the first time. And then I have another meeting with somebody in a few days about something similar but different. So I have 2 or 3, and wait, and then I have a third one. Oh, and then I met a third person last week, a different new person. So I've met 2 new people recently that I'm going to be working on a project with. And then there's a third person I'm meeting. So there's 3 new people in my life that I'm working on a project with. And the projects are all 3 very similar, but unique. Everything is unique and yet similar. But I don't want to say what it is because I like to have a little bit more privacy. Nowadays, privacy is very precious. And I really love the new Tori Amos album, Ocean to Ocean. At first, I thought it wasn't as good as Native Invader, her previous album before Ocean to Ocean. And now I realize that I really, really, really love the new Ocean to Ocean by Tori Amos. So it's softer and more gentle. And I thought the songs were too meandery and not distinct melodies enough. But now that I've listened to the songs over and over, I have the CD in my car and I've been driving a lot lately. So I've been listening over and over and over and over. I have an opal moonstone rhinestone car that I decorated, and I've been loving driving in my nice, comfortable car. And it's used. It's a used car. It's a 2010 used car, and but it's in really good shape. And I'm so grateful that the CD player works in it. I still actually listen to CDs old-fashioned style instead of doing a digital device thingy Mick Jagger. So I'm listening to the Tori Amos over and over and over, and the songs are growing on me, and I'm starting to distinguish between the songs. I've done a little bit of music, and it's hard. I'm a little bit musical, but I'm not a musician. I've tried to work. I've written and recorded some song, poetry, spoken word, musical things with a guy named Claxton Kent in 2014, and we did 5 or 6 tracks together. Then sadly, he didn't want to work with me anymore, but that's never mind. I think I screwed that one up, but never mind. I shouldn't say that. I'm a little too honest. Never mind. I have a lot of personality flaws. I work best by myself because I'm so moody and sensitive. And I like jobs that allow me to just be by myself most of the time, even though I get a little bit lonely. I'm more mostly kind of an introvert loner person. And I like to work on projects mostly solo. I like to help other people and then go off by myself and do a task and then bring it to them or help them. So I like solitary oriented work, but I did music and I found it was hard for me to, I was repeating myself and forgetting. I was trying to make completely separate melodies and tracks with a musician, and it was just all blurring together. And so I'm amazed at musicians that can really, there's only 7 notes, I guess, but there's flat and sharp and, A, B, C, D, E, F, G on the keyboard. I play piano a little bit. Mostly I improvise. I took lessons when I was 9, but I just mostly improvise and I'm not really spectacular at it, but I have a little bit of a musical sense when I do that, a little bit of musical talent. And so I really am in awe of musicians because they can write a melody and a song and it has a rhythm and lyrics and a melody, but it somehow stays separate and distinct. It has its own, it's like stepping into a chapter of a book or stepping into a story, or each song has its own separate like Tori Amos likes to say, sonic shape. She sculpts with sound. And so I love that about musicians. And so the Native Invader by Tori Amos and then the new Ocean to Ocean by Tori Amos are very different. And yet they're similar albums. I've been a Tori Amos fan since 1992. And some of her fans seem to only like her older music. I like all of it. And in fact, I like her newer music better than the older music. I'm around the same age as Tori. She's 5 years older than me. I'm 53 and I think she's 58, I think. So I like that with age, you could say she's getting more mellow, but she's less angry and confrontational, and yet she's still trying to make important points with her lyrics and speak in her own language with metaphor. It's beautifully done. And I love her distinct melodies and separate songscapes, whatever you want to call it. Because I do, when I hear music, I do sense that it's a shape. It's like a sculpture. It's like an audio sculpture. And some songs are like canyons, and some are mountains, and some are like being in the ocean swimming. So it has a certain texture and flavor. And so I'm amazed by musicians. So what's my point? My point is I'm inspired by the new Tori Amos album, Ocean to Ocean. And I am very much inspired by trying to let the past go, because I recently was traumatized by that experience I had with somebody I disagreed with. And I think that my boundaries with this person are not very appropriate. And I don't think it's entirely me. It does take two to tango, but I take responsibility for my side of it. And I look forward to interacting with the three new people that, well, the two new people I've met, and then there's the third person that I'm going to meet. So I'm going to just make the best out of these new relationships I have in a creative project with these people, which I won't say what it is because I want to keep my privacy. My main point of this video, though, and thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel, by the way. If you're a new subscriber, welcome and thank you. My name is Shannon Kringen. I'm in Seattle. I'm an artist and a model and an improvisational person. And I'm interested in healing and growing. I had a very challenging childhood. I'm an only child of parents who divorced when I was 4, and we moved around a lot. And I witnessed lots of divorces and dysfunctional relationships, but also my parents are, my mom put me in alternative school as a kid, and I learned different things. I learned the truth about Native American Indians, and I learned things that they don't teach in public school. I learned more creative. We were taught as little kids that we are powerful and intelligent beings, and my teachers empowered us as little kids. And creativity was allowed, individuality was allowed, and creativity was allowed. Nowadays in schools, the curriculum is very strict, and not as creative. And I went to a school where creativity was encouraged. I even went to a public, that was 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Then I went to regular public junior high, but I lucked out and had good art and music and acting teachers and humanities and English and creative writing, and a wonderful class named Film as Art. So I was lucky. I went to high school. I went to school in San Diego at a place called Abraxas, and Whidbey Island at a place called Tamanos. These were alternative schools for kids, and they taught us to empower ourselves and trust our intelligence and our wisdom. And they didn't treat us like we were just kids. They treated us like we were young people who needed to develop and learn and grow with adults around us and supervising us, but they respected our creativity and our talent. The dark side of that is that we were running around kind of wild hippies and maybe a bit neglected in some ways, and yet we had a lot of freedom and embracing grace, moonshone face. And so that's what I like to say. So we had a lot of freedom. And I wrote and directed and starred in a play when I was 11 or 12. And my friend and I wrote and directed and starred in plays, and we got to cast the play. And the adults were respecting us and teaching us and giving us freedom to be creative with art and music, theater, dance, writing, discovering. We learned about science by being out, in biology. We learned about biology not just through books, but being out in nature and making nettle tea and making, exploring, learning about the ocean by going to the coast and going and looking at tide pools in San Diego when I lived there. In San Diego near Scripps Institute, I think it's called Scripps. A school of oceanography. And then we went to, on Whidbey Island, we went to, Puget Sound and learned about the sea life by being around, the saltwater coast of Puget Sound. So what was I going to say? Creativity and questioning authority, questioning anything you're told, whether it's from an authority figure or from just a fellow, somebody your own age or whatever, just a fellow civilian or whatever you call it. So creativity and let's see, boundaries. What was I going to say? Dealing with navigating boundaries and appreciating the new Tori Amos album. And I think of Tom Petty and Tori Amos as my service musicians, kind of like service animals, but service musicians. When I have a lot of anxiety, Tom Petty and Tori Amos music really help me calm me down, center me, or their music is there for me in a way when life is really unstable and things are constantly changing. So I'm going to work on some new projects. I think I lost my train of thought. Sorry, this is all improv. I don't have any script here. My dad's like, maybe you should write a script for your YouTube channels. I'm like, no, I'm not really a script writer. I want to just do improv. But that's true that some of my, I could jot down a few general ideas on a sheet of paper and make sure I stay on topic. That would be good instead of rambling on so much and going off on tangents. So I want to heal and grow and learn. And I had a very challenging childhood. I never got married or had kids. I decided to not do that. I've had a long-term person that I'm involved with romantically for like 7 years now. And in some ways, our relationship maybe isn't very healthy. And in other ways, I think it is. And there's a heart and soul thing happening with this person. And I realize there is a heart and soul thing. And I'm a very moody person. So it's difficult, I think, to be close to me. It's difficult. Intimacy chasing me, feel like it's erasing me, is a line in one of my poems. Intimacy chasing me, feel like it's erasing me. So it's like intimacy, into me you see. So into me you see. I feel like I don't know who I am sometimes. And I feel like a chameleon. And like I just get lost in other people or lost in animals, or like when I take care of a dog or a cat. Like I love dogs and cats and other animals, goats, and I took care of goats in junior high and I had my own goat and that was amazing. I maybe it's good to lose yourself though in something and not be so self-conscious. So I have mixed feelings about everything. So I feel like I'm learning as I go, but I'm kind of a spaced out human being. And um, I'm just making it up as I go. Like I've been doing freelance, I haven't had a normal full-time job since I don't know, for many, many years, since like the 90s or something. So, and I don't know how to do that. It's not that I think I'm better than people who do normal jobs. I just don't even know how to do that. Like I'm actually scared and don't know how to do that. And I'm just used to just being a multi-faceted, freelance, improvisational, multiple streams of income, juggling many different things kind of person. So I'm still doing that. And maybe that's a little too chaotic. And maybe I would be more calm if I just had one full-time job, but I guess I just don't seem to be wired that way. So I don't know. Maybe I could change that. I don't know. So I'm just making it up as I go. So I'm trying to just stay calm and surf the waves of opportunity that I have. I have these new opportunities in my career and I'm surfing the waves and meeting new people. But I want to try to keep the boundaries healthy and professional. It seems like I'm either too honest and I say too much, or I'm kind of a little standoffish and I don't say enough. And I wish I could just, I'll never be perfect, but I can just be perfectly me. So that's what I was going to say. When I feel intimidated by another person that I don't agree with, instead of just trying to feel equal to them and stand up to them if I need to, and just be respectful, but stand up for myself if I'm different, if I don't agree with them. I don't know how to do that. I tend to freak out. I tend to lose my temper or get really scared and feel like a child and feel like they're dominating me, even if maybe they're not trying to dominate me, but I feel dominated because my grandmother kind of dominated me. My mom and my dad in some ways are really nice, sensitive people. And yet I feel dominated by them a little bit dominated maybe. They're both very critical. My mom and dad, they divorced when I was 4, but they're both really sensitive human beings and very smart and intelligent. But I felt kind of dominated in some kind of weird, like I wanted more attention. It's like I needed to be validated more and reassured in a certain way, but they were both distracted, I think. I don't know if this is just a story I tell myself or it's fully true, but I think they were both, they had me when they were young and they were distracted. And so I feel like I got into this habit and I still haven't broken that habit. So my point is, I love my parents and I know the best thing to do is let that go and forgive. Anything about your childhood, it's best to just let it go and forgive it. The reason why I'm talking about it is because I'm still doing certain patterns and I wish that I could evolve past that, but I'm still doing certain patterns. I'm still feeling triggered by people who remind me of parents who criticized me, or my grandmother who criticized me, or just kids who picked on me in school and made fun of me and dominated me. And I didn't know how to stand up. I still don't know how to stand up for myself in a way that works. Instead, I put myself down. This person said something to me that I fully disagreed with. And I said, oh, well, and then I put myself down in, like, I criticized myself and put myself down and exaggerated something about myself. And then this person was like, oh, so basically I freaked them out. I said negative things about myself that were derogatory, actually, because I'm angry with people who stereotype other people. And so I don't know why I did that. It's hard for me to explain. It probably sounds weird to you. But I did something that was not helpful to me. And I don't, if anything, if this person really is trying to bully me, they can use it as ammunition. So it's almost like I'm playing the part of a victim. I guess that's what I do. I play the part of a victim, which is really bad for me. And I don't want to allow people who are on a power trip to take advantage of me. And I think that's what I've done, actually, but at least I'm aware of that. That's very troubling to even talk about. But I own that. I own that. But I've also done great things. I'm brave and strong in some ways. And so I give myself credit for that. But I want to just keep learning and growing and healing as I go. So I want to surf the waves of opportunity. I would like to have healthier boundaries, especially with this person that triggered me the other day, or just not interact with people that I have that kind of weird, maybe not very healthy connection with. Maybe that's the best solution. So thanks for listening. This is Shannon, Kringen, Goddess Kring. I just hope you gained something from what I just said about personal boundaries or personal growth or insight or whatever, healing and growing, and life is a gift. And there's many opportunities. And again, I'm not really a religious person, but I'm a spiritual person, meaning I tap into the energy that connects all of us. And when I'm out in nature, I feel like nature is my church. I don't go to church, but nature is my church. Like the plants, the animals, the ecosystem, the earth, and how humans affect each other. There's synchronicity. There's the placebo effect, the nocebo effect. There's what you focus on expands, kind of a spiritual philosophy. So if you focus on what makes you angry, you will notice all of the things that make you angry. And then you might even attract more of that. Not that it's this perfect magic like that, but that generally there's patterns. I see patterns. And when I focus on what I'm grateful for, I can attract more of that. Like, I've had some really good experiences lately, and I've also had some very bad experiences, both. I've had good and bad things happen to me lately. I've handled certain stressful situations really well, and then I've handled other situations really poorly. I've done both. So life is messy. So I am going to sign off for now. And this is Shannon, Kringen, Goddess Kring in Seattle. And you can support me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. I'm an art model and a multimedia artist, and I share a variety of my artwork as an abstract visual artist and photographer and animal lover and musician and poet, spoken word artist. Also, I model for other artists who draw and paint and photograph and sculpt. And so I share a variety of things. My Patreon is just kind of all over the map, but it's kind of like my show and tell of my life, multifaceted. And then you can also go to my Flickr, and there's over 7,000 photos that I've taken, and you can publish those for free under the Creative Commons license. And I sometimes Google and see my photos published all over the place, and I love that. It makes me happy. So thank you for anybody who publishes my photos and links back to me on my Flickr. And I have the shannonkringen.com as my main website. And enjoy the holiday. If you're an American and you celebrate Thanksgiving, enjoy the gratitude. The history of the United States is, a whole nother story in terms of Thanksgiving and the reality of the Native American Indians and the European settlers and all of that. I'm not here to argue about that. I'm just saying it is a good thing to be thankful for and grateful for whatever you can be grateful and thankful for. Doesn't mean you have to lie to yourself about history or current events. You can acknowledge the dark side of what's happening in the world at any time throughout history. And then you can also focus on what you're grateful for at the same, because I don't like to deny, but sometimes I wallow too much in what bothers me, and I need to want to focus more on what I love and what I'm grateful for. So I guess so have a good holiday if you celebrate that holiday. And I'm going to share some food with my mom and her boyfriend, and just a simple meal, and grateful for that. And then I have new opportunities and new projects I'm working on. So thanks for being here. Have a good day or night.